Welcome to the InfoMullet YouTube channel. If you enjoy this content, please like or share. And if you'd like to support the InfoMullet by becoming a mulleteer, visit us on Patreon. We appreciate your support. Also, charge your drinks. Make sure you have something liquid here. I'd say, drink responsibly tonight, but you're all home, so get blitzed, whatever. You're going to need it because we're about to go into the COVID-19 forecast, and I hate to say it, you're going to want some drinks handy after this. So let's get started with the COVID-19 forecast, which make up the last part of this. All right. So do you have your drinks ready? Great. Question 8. In 2021, will the United States reach herd immunity through vaccination? I put this after the intermission, and I put this because every forecast after that is contingent upon this answer. This is the forecast that I think is the big one to go through. So if everyone wants to do a virtual drum roll, the answer is no. We will not reach herd immunity through vaccination in 2021, and I'm really sorry to have to tell you that, but I don't see how it happens. So a couple numbers just to keep in mind of sort of how I'm spitballing this, right? We have 330 million people in the US, and depending on who you talk to, an optimistic herd immunity vaccination rate is 50% of that population. A cynical or more realistic is about 80%. So you're talking the ability to vaccinate 165 million to 264 million people to get herd immunity. Current vaccine distributions so far this month in December are 2.5 million. Now, to be fair, we're starting out. This is the first month, right? Let's assume that number quadruples through a normal progress curve. It quadruples, and in 3 months, we're doing 10 million a month, right? That would still take it 10 million a month, 16 to 26 months to reach herd immunity. Even if we hit 20 million a month, which is a 10 times increase of what we're doing now, that's August in the optimistic point, herd immunity of where we only need 50%, and that's December in the worst case. So, and why is this, right? So there's a phrase, amateurs talk strategy, professionals talk logistics. I have talked about the strategic risk of pandemics, and that the only strategy that works is vaccination. The strategic risk is the virus mutates before you get vaccination. But that's the strategy, right? Congratulations, we now have the vaccine. We know what our strategy is. The hard part is executing it. And people are always underestimating how complex supply chains are to put in place, manage, and do it. If you were to distribute sticky notes to 160, let's put it this way, if you were to distribute pizza, which most people like pizza, to 160 million people, even with the pizza chains, that would be hard because you got to track who got it, who didn't, whether they got what they wanted, stuff like that. Now you're talking about something that has to be stored at a specific temperature. You've got to do 2 doses that are 21 days apart, which means there's a scheduling after. And we have not put in place any infrastructure of, this is the stuff we should have been planning in probably as early as no later than June, July, in normal government planning. I'm talking for normal government planning. We planned the Iraq invasion for 1.5 years before we did it, right? You plan these things out in advance, and there has been very little federal planning on how the states are to set this up. So I don't think we're going to have the kind of multiplier and the pace of distribution. I do think the vaccines work. I trust the science. I do think that we have a shot, but the problem is the logistic picture does not give me confidence that we're going to reach herd immunity in 2021. And I see people crying. I'm sorry to be the bearer of bad news. I'd love to be surprised here, right? Mentally, do what you need to prepare for another year of the pandemic conditions like we're seeing now with waves and things like that. And the challenge is going to be that it's not just the future waves. They may not be as high, but you start talking about a condition for anyone who's involved in the U.S. military, especially the U.S. Army, from about 2003 to 2010, they know that fighting 2 wars put an unsustainable strain on the U.S. Army. And we're seeing the unsustainable strain on our healthcare. So right now, everyone's talking about collapse as a factor of capacity and staffing. Southern California is at maximum. They've filled up all the ICUs. They don't even have any hospital room left. They don't have the staff. You're seeing this in more and more areas. Say we get past that. even if later waves are lesser, that doesn't mean the risk is lesser, because we're going to start to see fatigue collapse, people leaving the field, delayed infrastructure falling apart. Just the systems cannot be put under this strain without support for this long. And so there's a real risk in the middle of 2021, we're going to continue to see bad waves, because they may be lesser, but the infrastructure that we're relying on now, we're not restoring it. If you've ever been in the military, it's not that you just fight. It's you prepare, you stockpile, you fight a little bit, and then you sustain, you restore, you recover, and you get it ready for the next time. There has been no break to do those activities, and even if they were, we don't have the organization. So I am forecasting that this pandemic keeps a major pain in our ass through 2021. Now, the only silver lining, the good news in this that I think, is the unknown innovations, right? When this started, a lot of people are like, oh, it'll be over in June. Wave 1 will come and go. It'll be over. Let's not invest in anything. But as the longer this has gone on, more and more innovators and people like that are investing in things. And I'm not talking vaccines here now. I'm talking about invisible innovations that reduce that fatigue and strain that are specifically COVID-19 related. They're going to start coming onto the market. They may be bought up by the US, the government. They may be bought up by hospitals. They're designed to make doing the work of managing COVID-19 easier. I don't know what those are going to be. The innovation curve is always hard to predict. It's impossible to say which one, but I bet we're going to start seeing some time-saving, better mitigation strategies, things that help workers, help hospitals, help healthcare workers. These things are going to start coming, because the new reality is we're still living with this, and therefore there's still a need, and these investments that were made early are going to start coming to market, and that may help a little bit. Obviously, a contingency that I'm wrong, which I hope I am, is a significant increase in the distribution of vaccines, but early signs do not look good. The CDC tracks this. We're at 2.5 million. As always, the CDC is about 8 weeks lag, so that may go up. But we're already seeing opinion polls of like up to 50% of healthcare workers aren't willing to take the vaccine in some of these surveys in California. That's not a good sign for uptick and buy-in, and we have to overcome this huge political wrangle, but there's also the logistics part. So again, I'd love to have a contingency that we had. Everyone's like, hey, yeah, this wave was so bad. We saw these people die. Let's go and start doing this seriously. But I'm saying through 2021, we're still living with the pandemic. We do not reach herd immunity in 2021. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to follow the InfoMullet, visit us on Facebook or Twitter. And if you'd like notifications when we post new video content, click on the red subscribe button below the video. If you've ever wanted to become a mulleteer and support the InfoMullet, visit us on Patreon. We appreciate the support.